you don't want to see it, and I don't want to see it. I don't want to go that far. Or as they were mocking me, and they were mocking me, saying, "You don't know anything." It's like, no, I don't want to know more specifics. I already know the basics, and I can just imagine that probably however much evil I can imagine in my mind, they've actually figured out a way to take it further than that. And when I say they, I mean certain secret societies and rulers over the earth who are ruled over by overlords, of which there are non-human intelligence and beings like reptilian-type beings and things like that, that are also then ruled by spiritual beings that are removed from them even. So it's this huge complex of beings. And the Lord showed me that these beings and the distribution of good to evil, evil to good, light to dark, dark to light, is necessary. That the Lord protects what you and I would call evildoers. They think they're doing good, and that their rites and rituals are just propitiation to the gods, and they're supposed to, overcome their own hang-ups or whatever by going more taboo, whatever it is. The bottom line I'm trying to say here is that the Lord protects them and has, created them in a sense. I mean, he has created them, not in a sense, and protects us and has this whole epic story going that's intergalactic, ultimately, and, battles in the heavens, battles on the earth. Now, there's no sense being in denial about, look, the outer space, those of you who are going to church, I just dare you to do this. Go up to your pastor or to some learned elder, which is almost an oxymoron because I never saw anybody who had any, not even common sense in those churches. But you go ahead and ask them, well, what about outer space? Just ask them that. And you'll see they will steer you, every one of them will, even subtly by saying, well, here's what the Bible says about it, but they will steer you into not thinking about it again. Just like if you ever speak up about, the Pharaoh in office there. Well, he's actually more, like I say, a puppet. It's the real de facto president of the United States. Her name is Valerie Jarrett. We have a woman president. And all these policies that you see and the indoctrination of kids. Indoctrination is a very big part of the communist environment. It's crucial to have the kids. And so they have to be sexualized right off the bat. And then also that's good because the adults can then have access to them for sex. And then trained through mind control to be good, proletariat citizens. And those rules, the same in the Soviet Union or in communist China, are implemented with the children and the youth of today. Now, they tried to get me. I have to say the indoctrination is satanic. It's not necessarily communist. I had some of that indoctrination, and it bounced off me. I was able to. I was pulled right through it. But that made life kind of a hellish experience, because all the other kids were, already robots. And now those kids are ruling. They're in Hollywood. They're in Sony Studios. They're in Washington. They're big time lawyers, and now they're getting older toward retirement. But I'm saying they have held sway. These are the people that are your rulers. Those were my peers. And would it be interesting for you to note that they were conditioned at a very young age, using things like the trauma of being raped to train them into, they have wives and kids and the whole bit, and no one speaks a word of it. And all of this is being orchestrated by beings that are not human who are running that, and that's part of the farm too, the animal husbandry regarding children. That's the children are the huge thing because it's all about mind. Once you get their mind, you get the mind of the children. You then use the mind and use the human imagination to create like God might create. The human not realizing that he's also a creator, made in the image of God. So they use that talent for their purpose. We're not making this stuff up. I'm just trying, but the mind control is so thick. I don't know. I guess a lot of you are just going to be farm animals and be harvested. They harvest a lot of things, but one thing is dream time and imagination, and a lot of this is dream time. Another thing, like the Matrix. Another thing, they harvest the souls of men, and that's intergalactic. And there's an intergalactic, there's no federation, like the New Agers and the UFO researchers say. No, there's no federation. It's a kind of like we're a microcosm of the way it is. It's predators and dominators over subjecting other beings, and there's beings that just don't look like us or like anything we could even relate to. There's all kinds of creatures out there too, like these fish, these creatures that look like UFOs that fly around, yet there's nobody in them. And they just sort of do their own thing, and they kind of graze on this, and they're on the moon, and they're here, and they're all over the place. There's I don't know, trillions, quadrillions of those. They're all over the place, like fish in the sea, and and then when you take the interdimensional part of the infinitude of it all, I mean, it just becomes too mind-boggling to even consider. But yes, the reason we're barred from space is because they want us to think this is it, to keep control, because they are farming us, the reptiles. Yes. And I can glean all this from the Bible too, but I'm just, we have to cut to the chase here. We have to get down to the reality, because this makes the Lord Jesus all the more important, because the cross, the bloody cross, and of course, he was there as the paradigmatic model for you, who are of that same DNA. In other words, as he suffered, you suffer. They mock you. They attack. There's this persecution. They chop heads off in the Middle East. They burn, schools down and villages, and you mean no harm to anyone. You're peaceful and loving and forgiving, and they do this to you. It's almost too much to take. So we have a model there in Jesus about suffering. And the Lord has said, yes, you're in the realm of suffering. There will be suffering here. But I am the door. I'm the branch and you're the vines. Or I'm the vine, God's the root, and I'm the vine, and then you're the fruit. If the fruit falls off the vine, oh well, you're the fruit. Okay? You're made in the image of God. You're the fruit. In you is the light. The true light is in the people of God. So when people see you, they mock you because they see a blinding light, which they can see. Your true identity, and I'm just going to go into it. I'm just going to keep going here. Your true identity is light. You are light, and they see that because they are, to quote the Traffic song, "Low Spark of High-Heeled Boys." High-heeled boys meaning wealthy boys, is the boys, the good old boys club, right? Okay, they say low spark. See that low spark? Well, you're a blazing light, and you're like the elephant in the room, and it almost blinds them, and then they attack, because it's right, the moving object, attack it. They're like animals, and what they don't understand is when you're the low spark of high-heeled boys, that means you are willing to be harvested for a price. You don't give a damn whether they kill you or your family or not. And that's why I don't have much respect for the elites, because they really don't care about life. They don't care. I mean, I'm generalizing, but in general, I would say, the bulk of them, and not, I know elites like, and we almost went to a conflagration of a nuclear World War III. In the Middle East. We were all teed up for it. Only by miracle of miracles of the intervention of God, which I had predicted based on him telling me That's the way this is supposed to function. It occurred and, was put to the side. But the nuclear threat is still there. Nuclear war is still there. EMP pulse and taking out the power grid. It's like they can't dismantle the power grid fast enough, which is going to put you in harm's way. If you're living in the cities, you'll die in your cities. You will be killed. They want to do it. If that doesn't happen, it's only the Lord's hand of intervention. Let's just go through the list. Nuclear war. If it doesn't happen, it's only the Lord holding it back. You owe everything to him. If the power grid doesn't go down and then turn people into barbarians, you owe the Lord for every day that you have power. He's the only one holding it up, because it would have been gone a long time ago had they gotten their way. Okay? Traumatizing. Trauma-based mind control and hypnosis. The fact that you're not hypnotized, you owe everything to the Lord, because you didn't do that on your own, as Obama might say. You are a miracle work. You were preserved by the Lord, so you are not hypnotized. Now, I could go on, but every single thing that you have that's any good, your ability to put food on the table, your ability to have a job at all, your ability to, go smell some roses today. All of that is a gift of God, at him only, and without his intervention specifically in your regard, you wouldn't be able to go smell those roses today. You would have been gone a long time ago, and you know it, and I know it. We need to give all praise, everything to the Lord. Give it all up. You're still you. When you give everything away to the Lord, not to the people, to the Lord. When you give, see, that's where our hearts belong. You give your heart to the Lord. When you give it all to the Lord, give it all. You then get yourself. You then exist. You're then born for the first time. You die to be born, I guess. But when you give it all away, that doesn't mean you die. You live. I mean, if you give it to the devil, you die. But if you give it to him, you live. You're also surrounded with a bunch of zombies here. These are people that have been turned into that by this whole system, and more are being turned into that, and that's a wet dream for them. The fact that you are not, and that people you know are not, and that you have friends and you still have some kind of wholeness or wholesomeness, you owe that all to God, all to Yahweh, to Jesus, to the one who made you, to the one who brung you. Why dance with somebody else when he's the one who brung you? I guess I'm talking to some... Well, back to the rock star thing. So I ask you, to today, it's like, with all those studios and all that talent and all those musicians and all those people, isn't there any producer out there at all who wants to say something? You're just going to keep your mouth shut and go off the cliff like you don't care? Aren't you even curious what there is out there? What we're being kept from? Don't you want to see that? Do you want to just say, I give up, I'm a slave to the lizards, and I guess I'm going to just go down and become lizard bait, and that's going to be my life because I sold out to the devil so I could be a rock star, and now that I've woken up and I realize, Z, everything you're saying is true, but I don't dare make a move because I don't want to jeopardize my excess billions or million. What is it? I'm not even, well, let me just put it this way. Let's talk about the body, the human body. Okay, you want to eat, you want to fill your belly. You want to have that urge and desire fulfilled sexually. And you want to have as much of that as possible. Okay. And the only way to become conscious is to push that down, which the popular culture is against. I mean, if you look at the whole Miley Cyrus pretending to be rebellious, she's a three-piece suit. She is conformity. She is an evangelist for conformity, for slavery. That's her entire raison d'etre, her reason to be in existence is to conform the kids to the slavery. So they'll shut the F up and go along. And that's her only purpose. She has no other purpose. Oh, but that's her producer's purpose. And the producer works for who? Somebody else. And that person works for who? Well, those aren't human. Okay, I rest my case. We know the Miley Cyrus producers will never lift a finger to help anybody. And we know they hate people. Obviously, they just love themselves. Anyway, they're going to keep pushing, and there'll be one after, there'll be another Kesha, there'll be another Miley, they keep pushing it, because they want you to join or hop on the magic bus, as the Who coined when they were evangelizing for Satan. And, now Roger Daltrey is singing Won't Get Fooled Again in the White House. That's impossible for me to take. What a scumbag. But anyway, for a lot of reasons. But he was putting Churchill there. It's all good. It's tradition. No. The Who was always, finally they've come clean. They have always pushed conformity and been evangels for Satan. And that's the only reason they're able to hang around the White House, because obviously it's owned right now by the devil. And so he's Sir whatever by the Queen. The Queen owns the White House. Okay, but then she's a queen of who? Right? It goes back to the same source, non-human. And what's all this? It's all slavery. What's the point? This is a farm. You're farm animals. You're harvested along the way. And they harvest different things. They have spiritual things, intangible things that you may not think are valuable. Like, how many people think their soul is valuable? Well, first of all, they don't even know they have a soul. They don't know that they are themselves before entering a body. They feel that their body is themselves. That's it. And those souls are needed out there. Like, for example, I saw this planet with this very advanced technology, and then I realized it was mainly machine. It was a planet of machine. It was a future. It was like, this is what will become of the Earth. And what was there were more like robots, not humans. Humanoid sort of robots, but they had no souls. A planet of soulless people. And then I realized it was all mechanized and it was all angular, but very advanced, stuff that is almost impossible for us to comprehend. And then and then I said, don't they know that they can travel? And some of these fly around in ships, and they come to visit the Earth, and people sometimes encounter them, and it's incomprehensible to them. There's good guys and bad guys, yes, but there's diversity beyond belief. There's not just like 4 species: the tall whites, the Aryans, the little grays, and or the big sort of mellifluous. What are they? The locust one. What is that? The praying mantis types. That look like big insects. And they go, well, those are the species. It's like, no, there's tons more than that, including humans who were on the Earth, who then evolved into these machine-like things. And that's happened before, so there's nothing new there. And so this planet is imprisoned, and the people here are, again, cattle. It would be the equivalent of, and they're left alone because they have protection to destroy anyone that comes near, or anyone that tries to threaten this farm or upset the animals, then gets fired upon. And so you have it's like a blocked situation here. And the Lord, of course, laughs at them. We go back to Psalm 2, and mocks them and holds them in derision, and mainly because of their stupidity. He laughs because they're so freaking dumb to think that they could just farm the humans and have 0.1% lorded over them in Elysium while raising them in squalid conditions, which is what they want to really return to. And even now they want to go machine. They feel like with the whole nanonuclear type machines, you could basically eliminate the need for biological vehicles to house souls to run around in. And yes, some of that old UFO lore calling us containers. They see us as containers, and they want what's inside you, and they want to extract it. And then they can put it in a box and sell it. And so they're doing that too. And this situation will not be allowed to continue. That's why I'm bringing it to light now, because it's going extinct. They know it, and you know it. The question becomes whether they will be able to get rid of the humans and make a transition to machines, or whether they will be thwarted. The answer is they will be thwarted. The answer is a huge kick-ass intervention. The answer is justice will be served, beginning and a sign to watch for, so you know I'm right, is the hamstringing of the U.S. government, the inability for them to get anything or have any policy or have anything but chaos. The chaos we're descending into, they cannot control, and they know it, and they've had their people wondering why it's all backfiring, why it's so unlucky. And it's going to get to the point where nobody can control it. DHS will factionalize into patriots versus traitors. And they're going to fight each other, even though they're inept. And so all that's going to happen. And criminals will be let out of prison to run things, but they won't be able to manage, because cities are going to be disappearing, and other areas are going to be habitable. But it's going into a dark period. I'm just saying that the United States will not be gone in the end. With that tattered flag will still be there. I cannot guarantee Washington. I think, in a sense, Washington, D.C., for whatever reason, whether it be an earthly cataclysm, some kind of nuclear war, or something, isn't really there in the future. The location for any kind of central deal would have to be somewhere else. And of course, you'll say, well, but that's in their plans too, to move it to like Denver or something. I don't know if it's Denver. I don't know what they'll do. I don't really care. I don't really feel that. My concern is only one thing, and that is how the hell, and this is hell, how are we going to get out of here? I exist as a being of light right now, but I'm somehow almost like if this was psychology, I would be a multiple personality. I would be a split. But how do I get back over there? How do I integrate? Meanwhile, I'm here being harvested. Well, they can't harvest. They can harvest physically. They're not, but then God blocks them from harvesting me because I belong to Him. So I'm here as a witness to the others to say, hey, you're being harvested. It's a mistake then, and Yahweh was mistaken. He shouldn't have created matter and form in that way, matter and antimatter, because, it's constantly at war with each other, and it's always miserable, and it's no good. And so they'll seek to destroy all matter with a super collider. Oh yeah, they haven't been able to do it, but they're working on it right now as we speak. That's another danger, that the super collider will destroy the entire cosmos. And they're working feverishly to do just that. It'll be the best thing for everybody. That'll really stick it in Yahweh's eye, won't it? And what they forget is, but He's there with them in the super collider. He's in the metal. He's inside of it. He's in their heads. He's in their papers. He's in their plants. He's in the food they eat. He can't get away. And then, yet, all this technology that we see is all still in a dream. And it's being harvested from the dream world. And there's a real world that one can emerge into. There's a real world that satanic people emerge into when they are initiated into it. They suddenly enter into another dimension, and they go, wow, I'm in another dimension. That's really cool. What they don't understand is it's basically swapping one Truman Show for another. Period. It's meaningless. It's not real. It's not Yahweh. It's not it's not Zion, I should say. It's not the New Jerusalem. If it's not those things, it's not real. So I'm getting very, very, very esoteric here, and I'm sorry. I'm going to wheel it back to what does it mean practically. It means that you have got to give it up to the Lord for everything. The fact that you're even here right now, that these incompetent idiots haven't blown this place up or caused World War III to rain terror on all of us, The fact that these idiot rulers, these idiot leaders that you see on TV, are just utter idiots, haven't caused us all to die is a miracle gift of the Lord Yahweh right now. Now, I have one thing to say to them. They've been put on notice. They do one more thing, they're not there anymore. That would be horrible for the rest of us too, because it means the United States is in chaos, but that's the game they're playing. They're weighing the idea that they should sacrifice themselves for the greater good of destroying the world. Yes, I said for the greater good of destroying the world. That's basically what they want to do. That's Obama in a nutshell. That's all the people that are in high Luciferian circles like him. They're all like that. Not just one, all. And the goal is to destroy the world, the human world, if you will. If they could destroy all biological life, so much the better. That's, that they would they lay their lives down if they could take the whole damn thing out? You know what? A lot of them would. They're really hardcore. They are just made for the devil. They're made for darkness. The majority of humans here are made for darkness, or they would never enable these psychopathic dumbasses to play their games against humanity. I used to be programmed very heavily by the evangelical church, which is why I've kind of rebelled so much, in my talks, and or exposed so much, because I found the end times programming and the programming for the Bible and everything very, very destructive, extremely destructive to me personally, because it stopped me from, wondering. And the Lord loves it when we wonder, what's out there, Lord? That's the yearning to be free right there. That urge to wonder and to look and to consider and to not be, to be open to different things and say, Lord, is it, there's dark stuff too that can get you. But the church wanted to present the cosmos like a Ouija board. Like, you go out there and mess with that, you'll get demonized, you'll be possessed. We can't have you do it. It's like, in other words, don't look, right? Don't want to be free. Don't worry, you're going to go to heaven and you'll bypass all that. I don't want to bypass it. It's magnificent. I want to know more about it. Yeah, well, Obama is in agreement with the evangelical church and the Catholic Church because he's canceled space, because he doesn't want us seeing all the anomalies going on out there. And they're out there, and they're out there, and they're out there, and they keep trying to cover it up. But you can't. And soon, I predict, all of this is going to come crashing into the earth anyway. I don't know why now, but these comets are harbingers, and one is I-Sun, which always got me to think it's like, Christ. I-Sun. I can't get away from that idea. Sorry. A harbinger of the angelic realm, the host of heaven coming to the earth. And then the other comet that's out there, I forget what's it, Leroy or something, whatever it is, it's, represents the other side. And there's this conflict. And I don't want to go above my pay grade, but I don't want to stay here with my nose in the dirt like the earth dwellers. These earth dwellers, they bore me. It's all about the earth and this and that and all these stupid things. Now, I don't mind the pleasures of the earth, a good meal, a good hotel, a great seat on the plane, whatever. But I can't, having nice things, I don't know, but I'm always aware that, but these things are passing. But if you fancy something, you have it, but you can't have it like you used to, because God's there. He's in your face. And it's like, you can't make these objects into little gods to boost your status or your mood. It's just they can't do that, but it's nice to have, It's nice to have a Les Paul guitar, sure, with the dual humbuckers and the whole bit. And I'm not the best guitar player, but when I need a really good tone, I've got it. Or a good bass, or a good mixing board, or Pro Tools, or a nice place to do that stuff. I'm very appreciative. I no idea, I like David Byrne, where did all that come? I have no idea. I know that I've had things before and they've been taken away. So I knew not to buy in because I know it can always be taken away. So I don't know. But then again, I'm just here like an occupant, like a renter, a visitor. And that's how I feel about myself. I'm a visitor. I don't come from the earth. I never did. If you like, I'm an alien. I'm an alien from out there. And I did at one point have a ship. I had all that stuff. In another kind of carnal configuration, not carnal, but another dimension, but had all that stuff. I was shown all that years ago by the Lord, shown it. This is we're going back 15 years now. And I was shown all that, what I'd lost and what I hadn't and I don't have now. And then, he was bringing me up to speed on all the things that have happened and how I need to start the process of healing, and that process is complete, Okay, my eyes are opened. I am a whole person. I'm 100% integrated. Most people are fragmented. Most people are multiple personalities. Most people, I kid you not, they have missing time. Most humans who are not accountable who don't belong to God, who are in that 66%, let's say, they have missing time, and they keep it secret. They have times where they don't know what their body is doing or what they're being used to do. And my question would be, why would you want to live like that? You have a choice. You have free will. Let me also state other good news. Anyone that is serving the devil and, the bad aliens and the bad, the lizards underneath the earth and the whole bit. Anyone who's like in that very negative space and in that, and you've seen how your mojo and juju has been dried up, right? And you see how the gifts and the phone just doesn't ring anymore. And you see how they gave you a bunch of stuff in the beginning, but now they don't really. You see how it's all going south on you. You can always repent at any time, because they do trade in these souls and things, but still you can't buy and sell souls ultimately, because God's in command of all souls. They do it and they extract money and they do all kinds of things, but in the end, he could just cancel this entire reality in the flip of a switch, and then it never existed in the first place. Now, I happen to believe that he's fashioning and building character in his saints, and building virtues, and building, and he's burning the dross off, burning that sin life off of you, and preparing us to go to the next level. And whether we fell here, whether we were higher, or now we're lower, one thing I know for sure, most of you want to go back to where you were beyond that. You want to move on into space. Let's not be coy about it. We have a yearning to go to the stars because that's where we came from. Let's not even say heaven. Let's just say the stars, be more accurate. We remember that. We're like star beings, and we're in this configuration now for whatever reason. Because it's the pleasure of Yahweh, the pleasure of the Creator, the pleasure of the One who manifests all this. Not anything was made, remember, that he didn't make. Dark, light, storms, calm, up, down, back, forth, sunrise, sunset, you name it. Suns, moons, stars, galaxies, anything, limitless firmament, anything. But we want to go back to the stars because that's where we came from. I know those esoteric societies, and if you really want to know the motivation of the guys in the pyramids and the people of the earth dwellers who are trying to go into space and stuff and keep it secret, by the way, they've been going back and forth in space and in time the whole time you've been alive. These humans, yeah, that's right. It's all been kept a big secret. So if you find out about that, then they kill people that know too much about that. Anything to get you to keep, stay on your farm. This is not for you. You're not going to the stars. That's for these elites. You're just farm animals, and you're going to, and once we're done with you, we're just going to burn the farm down, and to hell with you, and we're going to be off of, we're already in the stars, and you're not, and too bad. To me, the greatest motivation for freedom is to move to the stars and to move to our true identities, which are not temporary beings that die, but are permanent, are eternal. To come into ourselves in the stars, in the limitless. To be free, that's what I need. That's freedom for me. So all the rest of this, and there are war games, and there are all these shenanigans, and wanting to be the best basketball star, the best this, the best that, or the genius computer geek or whatever. It's all irrelevant when it comes to comparing it to that. I see how they use these games and contests and sports and entertainment to keep our eyes on our genitals, our eyes on our stomachs, our eyes on our hammocks, our mansions, our lattes, our programming, so that we won't look up. And up is where we came from. And I could go on and on about why. Like, I'm in this prison camp because I did X. Or I was disobedient. Or something happened. And this is my reward. Or I could look at it another way. That's more of a Buddhist way. Right? All life is suffering. There has to be a way out. Or I could look at it another way. And just say I serve at the pleasure of God, and for whatever reason, he's got this, and he's got myriads and myriads of other possibilities too, and this is just what God's doing. I give myself totally to God. Whatever you will do, Lord, is okay by me. I don't need a reason like I was bad or I was good, or because bad and good are irrelevant when you finally get to the real truth. There is no bad. In other words, there is no bad and good. It's beyond that. There just is. So it doesn't matter. But yes, they, and when you say they, there's billions of possibilities of them, are coming here, whether the government likes it or not. And they're going to be interacting and dealing with people. Just consider the good guys overt angels. But they're brethren in serving the same God, are they not? Considered it an intervention. Z, you're starting to sound like the rapture. No, it's going to be way more disorganized than some, magic rapture. Anyway, it's happening now. Do you realize that, like, if you point your digital lens to the sky right now, under certain conditions, you'll click hundreds of UFOs, because they're invisible to the naked eye, but they're visible sometimes on a camera. Not all the time, but sometimes with a digital lens that picks them up. The most bizarre thing. Anyway, I had this idea that just right above me the other day, there were so many ships in the sky that they would almost blot out the sun if they weren't invisible. Like there's just hundreds of them just hovering over me, and not all of them were human. Not all of them were even occupied by anything. There was no occupant. They were just things that fly around. And this is the most bizarre revelation I've ever had. There are things that fly around, and they're not machines. They're organic in some way, but they're like I said, like schools of fish. And they're all over the place, and they don't want you to see that. So they try to explain it away on the NASA footage and things like that. They're in the NASA footage. There's some on YouTube right now that's actually real. Most of that stuff on YouTube, except for this, for some of that raw footage from the space station, is fake. Anyone with animation software can have a disc in the sky. I would shy away from the disc. The thing I was seeing with these guys that have these images, when you would see them kind of sideways, it looked like they had like a hole in the middle and a little wedge in the side, but they're all over the place, and they don't respond to humans. They don't respond to the space station. They don't respond. They just are kind of doing their own thing, and that, more like if you were underwater watching fish, and that more led to the credibility of it. May be, I doubt it's fake, but that led more to the credibility of the situation when there's no regard for human. A lot of these UFO people, it's like, oh, they're involved with humans. It's very humanocentric, and that's like a key to it being fake. They want to. There's a whole mind control UFO programming too, just like the evangelical church or the Catholic Church or this group or that group or the Hopi thing or the Art Bell thing or the whatever. You could fall into that programming. And, well, we don't need to swap one for the other. It took me, a bunch of years to get unstuck from this, like, Bible thumping thing. And I do read the Bible, but it's there was this ethos, this horrible conformity thing going on. And most of these people that were proponents of this were children of Satan anyway, and they're promoting this Bible thumping. And I'm like, why don't you get... I just, you know what I mean? I had to turn away. I can't look at that. I don't understand. These were the people that told me, don't look skyward. Don't look out there. Don't think about outside the box. All the answers are right here. Keep your nose in those Bible pages. Anything else is demonic. It's a narrow path. All that stuff had an influence on me and stopped any inquiry. But now it's like, I just have to. What I realize is there's no inquiry. I already know everything. I just have to unlock that knowledge. I already know it. It's my cells. It's my DNA. I know. There's a whole history that I already know, but I now need to, I can't take time, I can't spend time, I can't waste time. I need to just go to the truth. That's it. And I don't have time wasting my time with politics or the rest of it. I got to go to the truth. And I hope it doesn't turn out to be like a Ridley Scott movie, Prometheus, where you find out that these aliens are your progenitors and they want to kill you. They don't give a damn about you. They just soon you were dead. And all you're asking for is, can I live a little longer, please? I don't like the idea of living, 80 years and that's nothing. That's like nothing. That's unacceptable. So eat your cud and be a farm animal and all that, and we'll take care of you. And then when it's your time to go, it's your time to go. Here's our death panel. Now we're going to have death panels telling you, oh, you're 70 years old and you need a kidney. I'm sorry. Here's some medication to make you feel good. Go die, please. Thank you. Next, please. Or whatever. And with that, I don't want to, what? That's just not my concern. It's terrible. I wouldn't come here. I wouldn't do this. And so I must detach from the politics scene. I must detach from... I've already complained about Obama. I've complained about the military. I've complained about the economy. I've complained about the way people act here. I've complained especially about how stupid people are here in this country. But at some point, I got to stop complaining. That's what conspiracy radio has become. One big laundry list of complaints. There just has to be more. There's got to be more to it than that, or I'm just going to be the saddest boy around. There's more to it than that. Than just not approving of them doing evil in the sight of men. What's new about that? There just has to be, look, this is not my home, really. And I know where my home is, and I've got to get home. There's no place like home. Where are my ruby slippers, darn it? Wouldn't that be nice? If all I had to do is click those 3 times and say, there's no place like home. So instead, I'll say, Lord, please open this up for me so I can understand. And usually I'm ahead of the game in terms of the people out there, and what they talk about, because I don't go by the news. It's a guideline, but predictive aspects are more, and now it's this space beings, UFOs, and I know it's just a murky, awful, fatty thing out there, but you know what? It's coming whether we like it or not, and it's the next thing. You know, as far as the politicians and the unlucky berries and the Gaia, Hillary Gaia Benghazi. I can't want, please, no, the affairs of men upon the earth just consumed with flesh and concerns of flesh, when I'm not really flesh. I'm not really even human, you know? And maybe nobody is. Not really. That's not our true identity, is what I mean, you know? I'm this light being already, and I'm also this conscious being that goes and acts as my own guardian angel, among other things. And he, it, whatever, has a life, and he does not age, and he intervenes and does he's got a very busy life, and I'm like, but that's me. Hey, wait a second, now I'm here. I'm also a being of light. What the heck? Why so dense and heavy? You know, but, and I heard a word the other day that somebody posted from a prophetic guy, I don't know who he is, I don't know his name, saying that, you know, the Lord wants to bless us. We just need to turn to him. He's going to bless us if we turn to him. I say amen to that word, and I want to confirm that. I mean, the Lord knows what I mean. So I confirm that. Yes, Lord, I know that when we turn to you, you just give us nothing but good things, and you want to give that to the whole world, and it would solve every crisis. But these you know, like these people on the news, you know, they appoint themselves to be authorities on God and, you know, and reality, and they control so many people. Again, as Oscar Wilde said, most people are other people. They're just copies and clones of the others. I'm paraphrasing now. But you know, it's like they do not live their own lives. They live the lives of others. And that's so true. That, in other words, most people don't have lives and do not live. They're dead. They're just tape recordings of other people. And, you know, I would tell Oscar Wilde, if he was, you know, alive today, I would say, I guess we would have to go back to the original decision of the free will to determine if becoming one of Satan's is becoming other people. And I say the answer to that is yes, of course. Because the people of God, they are not copies of other people, and never. All the ones that I know literally are unique and are their own voice, and they're not ashamed. You know, I probably had shame the longest time of anybody. I was ashamed. It was a wound. You know, ashamed. You know, and when you're insecure and ashamed, you tend to take on personalities of other people or bits and pieces of this and that and the other. And the Lord, you know, slowly over time, because it's very painful when you feel insecure around other people, or you feel you have to take on this or become that, or you know, worse, you don't know who you start becoming reflections of the people in the room because you don't really have a strong identity. You know what I mean? You know, because the shame is making you so ashamed, you dare not shine your light, you know. Boy, that's painful. Those of you who suffer. Oh, gosh, my heart goes out to you. I know exactly where you're at. But the Lord has to heal that. You can't live like that. You got to be patient, because sometimes it takes 70 years. I kid you not. There are some people that carried shame and guilt all the way to their graves, friends. This imprint the devil makes on humanity, you know, when you come to this earth, it's hard to shake. And one of the things is, if you don't belong to the devil, then you're going to be fraught with shame, guilt, and you're going to be like the guilt guy, the sin eater, because you're going to be the one that they put all the sin on at the end of the day. You're going to be the one they make the scapegoat, so you feel guilty about everything, afraid to share all the things that they don't want to be. You become to take it off them. It's in some weird confangulation of thing what they're doing, and the minute you're healed from that, they can't put it on you. You see, they can't make you into that. They can't make you ashamed and a laughing stock and whatever else that they would do, because you're your own man now. See, you're your own. You got your stature in Christ. You're a consummated man, not the world's way, but the Lord's way, which is the original consummation of the wedding feast. You are that being of light, and nobody can take that away from you. Nobody, once you get to that point. You are your own man. You are your own woman, and you stand your ground, and you're sure of where you stand, and you know you're right, and you know they're wrong, and they know they're wrong, and you know what? You stare them down long enough, they will blink, because they deep down know it's a lie, and then they'll run from you, scared to death. But you lived your life running from them for a lot of years, and hid under your beds and things. But that's just the opposite of what should be. I hope this helped to heal. And for my complaints about, I think people are really mad at the president and mad at the Congress. I mean, they're not just any longer disappointed. They're actually just really pissed off about this health care thing. I'm just going to stay away from that. You can watch the news for that. It just seems like another distraction, and whether there's drones in the sky or not, they're going to do what they're going to do. There's nothing I can really do. I'm going to mention it as kind of like an act, to put it out there in the consciousness, so that the complaint is noted. But I go to the Lord. Lord, redress, please. This is terrible, unacceptable. Please protect our brothers and sisters. Please protect our children from these predators, please. Drones are even called predators, please. The Lord says, okay. Please protect us from the GMO foods and from the effects of that and the fluoride water and the chemtrails. Please protect us. I will. Thank you, Father. I guess I won't worry about it then. Remember that? Keep inquiring about the stars, son. Yes, Father. The church hates that. Because you see, deep down in their secret society history, they know all about it. With that, I bid you shalom. See you next time. Let's hope this goes up. We never know. Blessings, one and all. They're in Hollywood. They're in Sony Studios. They're in Washington. They're big time lawyers, and now they're getting older toward retirement. But I'm saying they have held sway. These are the people that are your rulers. Those were my peers. And would it be interesting for you to note that they were conditioned at a very young age, using things like, the trauma of being raped to train them into, they have wives and kids and the whole bit, and no one speaks a word of it. And all of this is being orchestrated by beings that are not human, who are running that, and that's part of the farm too, the animal husbandry regarding children. That's the children are the huge thing, because it's all about mind. Once you get their mind, you get the mind of the children. You then use the mind and use the human imagination to create like God might create. The human not realizing that he's also a creator, made in the image of God. So they use that talent for their purpose. We're not making this stuff up. I'm just trying, but the mind control is so thick. I don't know. I guess a lot of you are just going to be farm animals and be harvested. They harvest a lot of things, but one thing is dream time and imagination, and a lot of this is dream time. Another thing, like the Matrix, Another thing, they harvest the souls of men, and that's intergalactic. And there's an intergalactic, there's no federation like the New Agers and the UFO researchers say. No, there's no federation. It's a kind of like we're a microcosm of the way it is. It's predators and dominators over subjecting other beings, and there's beings that just don't look like us or like anything we could even relate to. There's all kinds of creatures out there too, like these fish, these creatures that look like UFOs that fly around, yet there's nobody in them, and they just sort of do their own thing, and they kind of graze on this, and they're on the moon, and they're here, and they're all over the place. You don't want to see it, and I don't want to see it. I don't want to go that far. Or as they were mocking me, and they were mocking me, saying, "You don't know anything." It's like, no, I don't want to know more specifics. I already know the basics, and I can just imagine that probably however much evil I can imagine in my mind, they've actually figured out a way to take it further than that. And when I say they, I mean certain secret societies and rulers over the earth who are ruled over by overlords, of which there are non-human intelligence and beings like reptilian-type beings and things like that, that are also then ruled by spiritual beings that are removed from them even. So it's this huge complex of beings. And the Lord showed me that these beings and the distribution of good to evil, evil to good, light to dark, dark to light, is necessary. That the Lord protects what you and I would call evildoers. They think they're doing good. Just like if you ever speak up about the Pharaoh in office there. Well, he's actually more, like I say, a puppet. It's the real de facto president of the United States. Her name is Valerie Jarrett. We have a woman president, and all these policies that you see, and the indoctrination of kids. Indoctrination is a very big part of the communist environment. It's crucial to have the kids, and so they have to be sexualized right off the bat, and then also that's good because the adults can then have access to them for sex, and then trained through mind control to be good, proletariat citizens. And those rules, the same in the Soviet Union or in communist China, are implemented with the children and the youth of today. Now, they tried to get me. I have to say the indoctrination is satanic. It's not necessarily communist. I had some of that indoctrination, and it bounced off me. I was able to. I was pulled right through it. But that made life kind of a hellish experience, because all the other kids were, already robots. And now those kids are ruling, and that their rites and rituals are just propitiation to the gods, and they're supposed to, overcome their own hang-ups or whatever by going more taboo, whatever it is. The bottom line I'm trying to say here is that the Lord protects them and has, created them in a sense. I mean, He has created them, not in a sense, and protects us, and has this whole epic story going that's intergalactic. Ultimately, and battles in the heavens, battles on the earth. Now, there's no sense being in denial about. Look, the outer space. Those of you who are going to church, I just dare you to do this. Go up to your pastor or to some learned elder, which is almost an oxymoron because I never saw anybody who had any, not even common sense in those churches. But you go ahead and ask them, well, what about outer space? Just ask them that, and you'll see they will steer you, every one of them will, even subtly by saying, well, here's what the Bible says about it, but they will steer you into not thinking about it again.